Hi, welcome to my channel. Some time back I did a video on this equipment over here. It's a Huntron Tracker 2000 and it's a analog signature analysis device. It's a very versatile tool, and it has helped me troubleshoot many circuits, and this has been an absolute champion in my lab. And the video was all about its basic functions. It will give different patterns for different components. For instance, if it will give a pattern like this for a diode, and something like this for a capacitor, and for a resistor it will give something like this, and if it is a transistor it's going to give a pattern like this for a base and collector, and it's going to give something like this for the base and emitter. So, and if it is a combination of capacitor and resistor, it's going to give show something like a composite pattern like that. So the versatility of this equipment is that you can measure the components, the characteristics of the components in circuit, and well, it is a versatile tool, and you can compare two different circuits. You can compare a known circuit with a effective circuit. Sadly, it's not an equipment which you see on many workbenches. Well, the first factor may be that it is very expensive, and even an old unit like this, the Huntron Tracker 2000, it sells for about around 1,800 to 1,900 US on eBay. So the cost is a factor, and this is an old model. The new model is the Huntron Tracker 2800, and it is even even more costly. Although this has been a very useful tool on my workbench, there have been one shortcoming on this model which I wanted desperately to get over. So let me explain this. So first of all, let's go into how it checks the component. It outputs a sinusoidal wave, and it plots to keep it short, it plots the current against the sinusoidal input voltage. So that's why it gives a linear pattern for a resistor, a circular pattern for a capacitor, because we know that on a capacitive device the current lags the voltage by 90 degrees, and diode, of course, forward bias voltage, when it reaches the 0.7 volts, it starts to conduct in forward direction. So like that. And you can also check digital ICs with this, because most of the digital ICs has a diode at the input. So it gives, according to the logic family, it gives a different pattern. So that's how it checks. Now on this model, the Huntron Tracker 2800, it has 4 ranges. First range is when you put it over to this position, it outputs voltage of 10 volts peak or 20 volts peak to peak. When you go to mid one, it outputs 30 volts, 15 volts peak and 30 volts peak to peak. So like that. Mid 2 will output 20 volts peak and 40 volts peak to peak, and the high position over here, it will give 120 volts peak to peak voltage. So even at the lowest point, say 10 volts peak, we know that semiconductors start to conduct at, say, around 3.3 volts to 0.7 volts. So if the semiconductor starts to conduct at this voltage, any passive components in parallel with this semiconductor junction will not be visible to the Huntron Tracker, because the semiconductor pattern will override the passive component pattern, and it will start conducting at 0.5 or 0.6 volts, and the passive component, whether it's a resistor or a capacitor or an inductor, that passive component characteristic will be invisible to the Huntron tracker. Now on the new version, the Huntron tracker 2800, they have upgraded this so that it has a low voltage output range. I think it is 200 millivolts peak voltage, 400 millivolts peak to peak sinusoidal wave it will output. So when it is just 200 millivolts, we know that the semiconductor junction will not turn on, and so that makes the semiconductor junction invisible to the VI curve tracer. This is a form of VI curve tracer. So when it is sub 0.5 volts, when the sinusoidal wave is below 0.5 volts always, that means that the semiconductor, we effectively eliminate the characteristics of the semiconductor junctions. So only the passive components will come into play, and if there is a resistor, only the resistor will be visible, because the semiconductor is effectively eliminated from the circuit by not going above 200 millivolts. So that is what they have done, the Huntron company has done on the new, well, it's not new, it's even the new version is a bit old. So I wanted to have that facility on my Huntron tracker, but as you know, even this one is selling, as I said, somewhere around $2,000. So buying a new one is completely out of the question. I would not even go there. So I was looking for ways of having that facility with my old Huntron tracker 2000, and I was researching ways of doing it. So one of the reasons why Huntron company has gone for the 2800 is because of this shortcoming on the earlier versions, because that it is turning on semiconductor junctions at around 0.5 volts, and the passive component characteristic becomes invisible. And also they are saying that because of the new CMOS semiconductors, there are high impedance leaks which does not appear on the Huntron tracker 2000, because when you go into the high impedance settings like the mid 1 and mid 2, the voltage also becomes very large, around 20 volts peak and 40 volts peak to peak, and there is a huge current driven through the components. So then the high impedance input will look like a short circuit on this one. So we don't want a high voltage, but we want a high impedance output, sinusoidal output, a high impedance, so that even the high impedance shorts or very high impedance leaks becomes visible on the Huntron tracker. So what did I do to acquire this facility on my Huntron tracker? So let's discuss that. So when I was looking around the internet, if anybody has done this before, I came across this website. It was called jammercade.net, and it featured this dirty cheap component tester, also known as Octopus Curve Tracer, and it needed very few components. It just needed a step down transformer. In this case it was 120 volts AC to 6.3 volts AC step down transformer. It had a parallel 100 ohms resistor, 560 ohms resistor, and 1K 1 watt resistor. That's all. Only 4 components was needed, apart from the oscilloscope which is going to show the trace in XY mode. So I had everything, but of course on this one you needed a separate signal source. Sinusoidal signal generator is needed on this one, and they are well, I think this one uses the mains voltage, 120 volts mains voltage, to step down at 50 hertz and to 6.3, and then drive that sinusoidal waveform through the component. So that, oh yeah, that's how they are doing it. But I had my own signal generator, which is the Hunton Tracker 2000. It has multiple frequencies. It can output 50 hertz, 400 hertz, and 2000 hertz. So I had that added advantage. And then with this Octopus circuit, I had the best of both worlds. I had the facilities of the Hunton Tracker, as well as I can if I can find the correct transformer, I can get this output voltage to sub semiconductor levels, that is somewhere in the range of 400 millivolts to 200 millivolts. If I can get it around there, I would be in business. So I looked around for a step down transformer, and I found this AC step down transformer. We are living in the 220 part of the world, and it was a 220 to 12 volt step down transformer. So I just hooked up the primary of this step down transformer to the output of my Hunton Tracker, which is giving 50 hertz and 10 volts peak to peak, and the output came out exactly around 180 millivolts. And the best thing is that this transformer had another winding which gave output voltage of 400 millivolts. So that is, both are very usable ranges, both below the 0.5 range of 0.5 volts range. So I could use both of those windings, and so now I have sub semiconductor level voltage sinusoidal waveform. So right off the bat, I decided that I am not going to use this 1000 ohms resistor because I wanted a high impedance output. I wanted something in the range of the mid to output impedance level of the Hunton Tracker, which is around 27 megahertz. So I looked around for a 27 kilo ohm resistor, but I could not find anything. So I decided to use a 22 kilo ohm resistor. So that made my output fairly high impedance. So now I replaced this 1000 ohm or 1 kilo ohm resistor with a 22 kilo ohm resistor. So that is the only change that I did, and now I have very high impedance output at 200 millivolts or 400 millivolts, depending on the winding that I use. So after building this one into a project box which I found lying around, I came up with this unit here. So I'm going to open it up. It's a mess inside. It's just the prototype stage. So this is the transformer, and somewhere in there is the resistors will be there, and on this side you have the outputs to the oscilloscope, X channel, Y channel, and the common in the middle. And in the front you have the inputs on this side from the Hunton Tracker. The inputs come in here, and the test probes go out to the device under test from these two ports, and the switch is to select the 180 millivolts output or the 400 millivolts output. I added a few switches, but they are not used at the moment. So in case that I need an upgrade, I'm going to use those switches. So this is the unit, and came out well. And let's hook up everything and see how it performs. Okay, so now I have everything connected up. The input output of the Hunter tracker goes to the input of the Octopus circuit, the input primary of the transformer, and from there I have the test leads coming out from the Octopus circuit, and from the back the oscilloscope probes are connected to my oscilloscope up there, and as you can see now it is giving a 400 if you can see the volts per division. So if you can see the volts per division on channel 1, it's 100 millivolts per division, and so you have 1 2 3 4 divisions and 4 divisions and a little more, so it means that it is giving a 400 plus something peak voltage, so 800 peak to peak voltage. So when it is going a positive half cycle, it's not going to turn on any semiconductors. In the negative half cycle also, it's not going to turn on any semiconductors. So this is the open circuit pattern. Now if I short the probes, this is the short circuit pattern. As you can see now, the Hunter tracker is not doing anything. It's only seeing the input of the transformer. So at that frequency and that voltage, it's virtually appearing as a open circuit to the Hunter tracker outputs. So that is why it is not showing anything. So let's check some components as we did before with the Hunter tracker, and see if how the components are differing now. Now let's first see if this is turning on a p-n junction. So I have this diode over here. Let's see if it is turning on this diode. So nothing. So it is just 400 millivolts across this diode, so it's not going to turn on. And let's see if this transistor gets turned on. Base collector, nothing. Base emitter, nothing. Right. And let's see if this capacitor gives any signal. It does. So now it is the curve, the circle is a bit more elliptical towards the vertical side, because the impedance of this is higher than the impedance of the earlier Hunter tracker setting that we were checking at. So it is going to appear a little bit vertically elongated. And let's see if the resistor characteristic. Yes, the resistor characteristic is also appearing. So only the semiconductor devices have been eliminated. No pattern for the diode, nothing for the transistor as well. So now in circuit, if you have these semiconductors in parallel with resistors or capacitors or inductors, we can check them without these semiconductors interfering with the pattern. Now what is interesting would be to see if a Schottky diode, which has a very, very low turn on voltage, so some have even 100 millivolts. So let us see what happens if I place these probes across a Schottky diode. Yes, it shows. So this is a Schottky diode. Even at this very low voltage, the Schottky diode gets turned on, and you can even see the the reverse voltage, reverse current there, because it's not quite horizontal, it goes beyond the horizontal line, which indicates a reverse current. So that is now if the circuit has Schottky diodes like this, you have to be very careful still, because it is going to turn on the Schottky diodes. Now let's go for the even lesser voltage. Even then the Schottky diode gets turned on at 200 millivolts. Before the 200 millivolts, the Schottky diode gets turned on. So when there's a Schottky diode in circuit, you have to be still careful. So this is how the octopus circuit functions in conjunction with the Hunton Tracker 2000. So my persistence has paid off, I would say. Now I have the capability of checking components in circuit, passive components in circuit, even when they are in parallel with semiconductor junctions. So thanks for watching the video. Give a thumbs up if you like the video, and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to run all the schematic the way I connected the Hunton Tracker to the octopus circuit at the end of the video, and so that you can try it for yourself and see if it works for you. So thanks again. Bye bye.